Questioning Everything with Garrett and Adam.
My point is, though, then what would your ideal political system be, man? Like, what do you think?
I think in order for us to
we've established that I'm communist.
Yeah. In order to move forward.
Not really, though.
No, you're not. But the thing is that our culture right now is being influenced by communism. Like so actively. Right. Yes. Actively being influenced by communism. And it's not the first time in history that this has happened. First time it was the USSR.
Right.
Literally trying to influence North Americans to have communist ideologies. Right?
Ideologies or ideologies?
Ideologies, the same thing.
Idiots versus idealists.
No.
I'm being fucking gag reel right now, buddy.
They're both idea-based. But now it's probably the Communist Party of China who's inundating everybody with communist principles, like the right to housing, the right to work.
And I think a percentage of that is healthy, man. I'm just trying to infuse corporate.
It is naively healthy, but the question is that
capitalism?
Why is
communism? Squish them together, get all the best parts of both, and let's go.
That's called capitalism, right? Communism doesn't have any good parts.
You're making me feel stupid, and I don't think I am.
Probably in this case, it's like people who are into communes. People who are into communes, right? Okay. Like if you're into a commune. You can't do a commune under communism, right?
And we've both.
So let that soak in.
What? Say it
you can't do a commune under communism.
Why?
Because communism controls what you can and can't do.
So I'm on a commune with a bunch of hippies. Everyone's naked. We're planting seeds. We're growing food.
The whole idea is freedom. The whole idea is that you get to live off the land. You get self-determination. You have freedom. Communes themselves are very liberal because you get to be yourself. You get to have your own opinions and you get to criticize the infrastructure that you're living in. The moment that you're communist, traditionally, I've never heard of a communist in practice where you're actually allowed to criticize the country or criticize the system. You're not allowed to. It's incredibly controlled. You're only allowed to do what people decide you're going to do. You don't get to own the land.
That sounds like a dictatorship, dude.
It is, right? Communism has always led to dictatorship. Right. Even a technocratic communist system, which is what people these days would be leaning towards, where, it's like, well, why should we listen to bureaucrats and politicians about health? We should be listening to the health experts. Well, okay, but the health experts, you can't replace them. You're not voting for them, and you can't replace them, and they're not representational. We should be improving our representational democracies by having better representation. We shouldn't be eliminating the need for representation, moving to an authoritarian-based system where, if you're an expert, you're the only person who has the authority to decide what is and what isn't. And even just like really small things like intersectionalism is a branch of modern leftism that says that, say, for instance, if you want to talk about a black topic, you can't talk about it because you're white.
Which is almost kind of fair in some ways.
It's fair in some ways. Yeah, I agree. But it also says that the real meaning of intersectional would be that the more things you've got against you, the more struggle you're going to have because of it, right? So it's not just that you're black, it's that you're black and female. Now those two things intersect, but in the actual end of the day, what the fuck was I saying?
I don't know.
At the end of the day, it's the idea that you're not qualified to talk about something unless you are the person who experiences it or an expert on it. And that literally leads into a form of technocracy where it's not, let's vote on things. Let's have a democracy. Let's have a moratorium or a memorandum or whatever the fuck it is where we can put a vote into the next election for it. Let's let the experts decide.
Right. So then,
which is, again, it's dangerous to me.
What do you think we should, what's your, I have my view, and what's yours then? Where do you think we should move? What should we move into?
I think we should hold on to democracy as strongly as possible where everybody is literally free to do what they choose, and nobody's ideas or their ideologies or their value systems are imposed on other people.
Would you get rid of Trudeau then? Trudeau.
Well, I'd have to replace him with somebody if I did.
And okay, do you have beef with him? Like I can't. Even...
I don't think that Trudeau is very suitable for Canada at all. I think he's horrible for Canada.
All right.
But I think everybody in our political hegemonies, both in the Canadian Conservative Party and in the Liberal Party of Canada, I think it's horrible. We're literally looking at neoliberalism. They're not just liberal; they're neoliberal, which is like everything that you think of a conservative as far as business, where they just sell out their people to business. They just lick the boots of business. That's neoliberalism, right? So the Liberal Party of Canada isn't liberal like civil rights.
It's liberal like
let's lick the boots of oil companies, and let's, which to some degree is okay because there's a relationship between business and everybody else that has to be maintained. Literally, they give us value. Once you unpack it, they have a lot more to offer than people are giving them credit for. Thinking of, like yourself, you're saying corporate greed, almost approaching it as corporate greed drives everything.
Well, it's a pretty general term.
Yeah, but we have these things, right? Like you're going to drive home, you have a motorcycle, you can get a hat made, right?
I can, but I still believe that there's
access to all these things which are incentivized by profit.
I know,
and profit and
hopefully someone writes into us with this after this
some
conversation.
Form of neoliberalism isn't bad, but the Canadian Conservative Party has ruined its reputation, and social issues that are being used as political leverage, namely gay marriage issues or abortion issues, those aren't political issues. Those are social issues.
Yep.
But they're being people are being manipulated politically using those issues. I think the Canadian Conservative Party has ruined the platform, has put a bad taste in people's mouths. And if I was to replace Trudeau, would I replace him with another Canadian Liberal, or would I replace him with a Conservative? I wouldn't want to replace him with either, to be honest with you.
Well, yeah, like even another argument is like, how is it like you look at the United States and they come up with Biden and Trump. Mm-hmm. Like these are the only two candidates, or Biden when he went up against Trump. Like these are the only two people available to run your. Yeah. There are over 300 million people in the United States.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's like 329 million people, the population, and the only two jackasses you come up with.
And it seems absurd.
What is that? Why isn't The Rock running for president? Why isn't Arnold Schwarzenegger? Why isn't Oprah
it's a hegemony? It's a hegemony.
It's fucking weird.
Again, it's why it's not really a democracy. Why it appears to be a democracy, but it's not really a democracy. The DNC and the Republican Party and same as the Canadians equivalents in the Conservative and Liberal, they decide who you get to vote for, right?
Okay, well, that's a dictatorship.
They choose, not really, but it's a hegemony. Meaning
these are all just such
words that you don't know. I know. I'm sorry.
No. I understand these words, but what they are is a bunch of words to describe how they just break it all down and confuse the shit out of you even more.
I know.
Then they wonder why the vast population don't vote or pay attention.
But it's competing power interests,
Roger.
Right? It's competing power interests, and you don't really get the choice. Whoever's going to run in 2024, in 2028, in 2032 in the US, they're already thinking about it. They literally think ahead. They're preparing people for the future because they have a future in mind. Here in Canada, we are way less organized than that.
Yeah,
way less organized. I think the Liberals are probably organized more in that such because, where does a drama teacher suddenly become prime minister? Well, he's groomed.
He's a snowboard instructor actually at one point too.
He's chosen. He's part of elite culture, a hegemony. He's part of families, right? These are people that know each other. Literally. It really is, though.
Well,
they're not lizard people, but they are.
I almost got them there.
They're literally, though, groups of people who have been in power forever.
Yeah.
And will always be in power forever. And they've fooled everybody into thinking that you get to choose somebody to represent you. You don't get to choose anybody to represent you. You get to pick between one of them.
that's pretty much obvious,
Yeah.
right? Like, I mean, 'cause
Trump
look
was
at
the
JFK.
Trump was the only exception where Trump was a wrench in the cog.
How did he get in, though?
He surprised the shit out of everybody. He wasn't supposed to get in.
It was how did they
like
their system
unplanned.
had a flaw in it then, or some kind of vortex where he just kind of oops, like
where Hillary was so bad that people voted for Trump.
Oh my God.
Advertisement loading.
One of the perks that you get when you join us on Patreon, if you choose Philomath, is it Philomath? Yes.
You should have been more prepared.
It doesn't really matter. If you support us on Patreon and you choose either Philomath or Sophist, you can join us on Discord and you get the backstage pass to the shows. So once in a while, we will be doing a little bit of live streaming on Discord in the backstage room as well as the stage. The Philomaths and the Sophists can watch from the stage, and the Sophists actually get to participate. So if you want to chime in live during any of the broadcasts, you can if you are a Sophist.
Not sehr schwer.